Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Tom's Hardware Podcast for September 20th, 2022. This is, believe it or not, the 100th episode that we've had. So thanks so much to everyone for joining us.
Yep.
As always, I'm Tom's Hardware Editor-in-Chief, Abram Pelch. I'm joined by Associate Editor Les Pounder and our very special guest, André Costa, who runs RPI Locator, which
Yeah, hey everyone.
in these difficult times is an incredibly important site. So, for those who, for some reason, would not be familiar with it, can you tell folks about RPI Locator, what it does, and how long you've been running it?
Yeah, rpilocator or RPI locator, however you want to call it. It's a website that basically goes out there to authorized retailers. I only track authorized retailers for reasons that we can probably discuss on this show,
Mhm.
and tells you if there are any Raspberry Pi computers in stock. A lot of this stock lasts very short amount of times. Like for instance, a lot of the drops are only there on the website for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So I have this script in the background that goes to a whole bunch of different websites. Some of the retailers, they provided me with a feed so I can ping the feed, and grab that information. But most of the tracking that I do is actually going out to the websites and scraping the website, pulling in the information that you see on RpiLocator.
So I'm fascinated by this because I myself have tried to write some scraping, some scrape scripts, not specifically for Raspberry Pi, but for other stuff that we do at work, trying to keep track of the prices of things. And I know
Yeah,
there's a couple of sites that do this for PC components, such as PC Part Picker and Camel does it with the Amazon API. But it's real. I found it's really difficult with a lot of sites to scrape them because they put things in place to try to stop you from scraping them, like the "Are you human" stuff, and then
yeah.
you have to go. What I learned was you have to go out and buy some like IP service that gives you random IPs. Uh, have you had to do that, or has
Um,
that been easier for you?
yeah, I know. It is pretty hard. Looks like my camera just went out. Let me switch cameras real quick. Yeah, it has been hard, but fortunately, oh wow. Okay, let me. I'll see if I can get the other camera going in a second. Um, Fortunately, a lot of the vendors are on board with what I'm doing, so
Mhm.
they're okay with it. A lot of them reached out back to me. When I started the website, I only had like 10 different vendors on the website, and they were like, "Hey, can I be on the website? Everyone is talking about this. Can you add my store to the website?" So I haven't had a hard time with them like blocking me. There has been some stores that asked me to remove them from the website. The traffic that was generating to their website was just too much for them to handle, and they asked me to remove. But all the other vendors, sometimes they'll send me emails like, "Hey, we're adding this other model that you don't have on your website. Can you track this also for us?" So everyone is on board. It does take a lot of maintenance. Stores change where things are on the screen all the time, and the metadata behind the web pages is changing for some reason. I don't know why, like how they do it, or the software that they use gets an update, and one day, tracking is not working. So I have to go back, check it out, see what's going on, why is it not working, and then fix the tracking again. So
Yeah,
fortunately, a lot of the vendors are on board, so not too bad.
that's good. I mean, I guess this is because when I look at the list of vendors on your site, these are mostly stores that are kind of boutique, that are sort of like maker stores,
Right.
as opposed to big places like Amazon. Do you even have Amazon on here?
I don't. No, Amazon is not authorized retailer, so I don't have it on there.
Yeah, fair to say. I mean, one can buy pies through Amazon, but they're usually
Yeah.
sold through a third party and way
Right.
overpriced. So
Yeah,
looking
they
right
they charge a
now,
markup.
it looks like there's only like a few places in Germany and Poland that have pies in stock. Is that how bad it
Yeah,
is at this moment?
it is. Looking at it, is just a snapshot. Um, Things go in and out of stock all the time. So if you're thinking
Yeah.
that you're just going to stumble into a pie like in stock, that's probably not going to happen. Those that you see in stock right now are CM4s. So those usually stay in stock a little bit longer, but like a Pi 4 or a Pi 3, they don't stay in stock. So you really have to turn on notification either through the website, just I have a functionality on the website that just keeps refreshing and gives you like an audible alert, or just through Twitter, and make sure you turn on the bell, because again, if you get there 20 minutes later, they're not going to be in stock anymore.
Yeah.
Wow,
Very true.
that is so frustrating, and it's been going on a long time. I mean, does it seem to be getting better, worse, or is it the same?
It's the same. I started this in February of this year, and I have not seen any improvement. Um, there has been phases, that we got like a big wave of Pi 4s, and then you can see all the stores around the world getting the stock.
Yeah.
But after that, they go out of stock again, and then goes a couple of weeks without anything. There's only one store all over the world that has been pretty consistent, and that's Adafruit. They have had stock pretty much every Wednesday around 11:30 to 1 p.m. Eastern, U.S. Eastern time.
Dun,
Other
dun,
than
dun.
that, yeah, a lot of people just go to the website, around that time and just hit refresh on their page, because they have been pretty consistent. All the other stores just, ad hoc restocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a shame. I mean, we wanted to get Evan Upton on the show and ask him about this, but uh, he wasn't available. He hasn't been available for a bit. I really hope that something is being done to improve the situation, because we're seeing in other other types of chips aren't as hard to get now. I mean, you can get a graphics card pretty easily now, whereas like 6 months ago it was a
Yeah.
challenge.
Hard to tell. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. They've made a few posts, on their blog about it, about the shortage. They said they're not going to predict when it's going to end anymore, so hard to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious. What do you use as your server? What do you use? Do you
Yeah,
use Raspberry Pis to run RPI Locator?
I used to. When I first wrote the script, it was just a script. I didn't have like a front end, right? Like, I didn't have a website. It was just for my own use, and I had it running on the Raspberry Pi. I use a web language called CFML. It's short for Code Fusion Markup Language. It's a Adobe product, but there's an open source version called Lucy. So I use that. It's a web native language, so it's easy to make like HTTP requests, and uh, handle HTML, because everything that I'm downloading for these websites is just HTML, right? I had it running on the Raspberry Pi for a while, and that's how I was able to get a 02W. And when I got it, I was pretty excited. I was in the kitchen talking to my wife, and I was like, I have this script. It works. I think I can make a website, and I think a lot of people are going to use it. Maybe I'll get 1,000 followers on Twitter.
Yeah.
Should I make this like a web, open to the web website? She was like, why not? And it was pretty
Awesome.
funny because, go ahead.
Do you know how many people have actually used the site or use it per day? Do you have any metrics?
Yeah, I get around 600 users an hour during the day. So quite a lot of
Nice.
people. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Overnight, that falls off. Like, if there's a restock, like a tweet goes out, with a restock, and then you can get up to like almost 1,000 people on the website at the same time.
So
And now it is not running on the Raspberry Pi anymore. I'm not like a server guy, so I didn't want to deal with that. So I put it on a shared server.
on a hosting service.
Right.
Cool. So you said you hit every site every 15 minutes? Is that right?
Less than that, I talked to them, and I was like, "Hey, is it okay if I do every 2 minutes?" And some of them said, "Yeah, go for it. I don't care." So I do every 2 minutes. Some of them told me like, "Hey, can you do every 10?" Every 2 minutes seems a little excessive, so I do every 10. But yeah, if it has been more than 7 minutes without an update, that's when I flag on a website as being outdated. And
Wow.
at the beginning, I started, I was a little naive. When I had this script running on my Raspberry Pi, I was updating every 20 minutes because I signed up for the email notifications on the website. I think it was the Pi Shop that I got the 02 from. And I got the email. And later that day, I was like, oh, yeah, I got the email with the notification. We're just going to buy this Pi Zero. And it was, of course, out of stock. That's when I decided, I was like, oh, I need a script to keep track of this. I started with 20-minute intervals, and then pretty quickly I realized that was not enough, even back in February of this year. So that's when I started. Most stores updated like within 2 or 3 minutes.
Wow. That is
I'm gonna turn off this light 1 second.
sure. Cool. That's done. So
Much better.
yeah, that looks better. So
There you go.
I kind of look like the Halo lights they had in this show Devs I watched last week. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but
Not seen it.
sort of recommended. It's a show by Alex Garland, the guy who made Ex Machina and like about the secret development project. And somehow in all the scenes there are these like lights above people's heads that are very bright like that. Anyway, symbolism, I guess. But
True.
so that is just really amazing. And have you tried this with any sites that are like, I guess all these sites have been pretty cooperative. Has there been any site that blocked you or that you had a problem with?
There has been, yeah. I've been blocked by one website. I tried reaching out to them beforehand, and they never replied. So I started scraping their website, and they blocked me once. I changed my IP. They blocked me again, and then I reached out to them again, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't want you tracking our website." I was like, "That's fine." All the other ones, there was another website in Denmark. They told me, like, "Hey, we're a very small shop. We really can't handle the traffic. Can you just remove me?" And sure, I mean, why not? It's their shop.
Right. That is really cool. So you have. I'm just curious. Is this an open source? Like, are you sharing the source code for how you're doing it?
It's not open source. No. To be honest, my biggest fear of making this available is that I'm gonna get so many requests that this is something that I do like when I have time.
Right.
And
yeah, I get it.
yeah.
I get it. I really admire what you have done here in terms of like setting up the scraping because, like I've tried it with PHP, not CFML, and like it works to an extent, but like you'll just get stuff like failing I get stuff like failing all the time when I'm trying to hit sites. So I'm just really impressed with what you've accomplished.
There are a couple of tricks. Sites, they're pretty smart and they know if you're a robot. So you have to pretend you're a real browser. That's how I usually start out. Even if for those websites, they were like, "Hey, go ahead, and you can scrape, no problem." They still have something running in the background, that they can't control. They can say like, "Oh, rpilocator, is good to go." If you're just pinging these websites with a random like a Python or a PHP client name, they'll block you right away, or they'll forward you to one of those screens, like, "Hey, prove me that you're a human." But if you have to figure out what's
Is
in
it
the
the
header
user
of
agent?
those requests. Yeah, the user agent and also the what they have in the header for those requests. So I usually, just open up a web browser. I go to the website. I see all the headers that are on there, and I try to replicate all those headers because those websites usually like send you to a page and then they forward you to the actual page that you want, so they can add all that information beforehand. And that's how they can tell like if you're a real person or not.
Right.
So it takes a little bit of digging for sure.
Yeah, no question.
Definitely.
I mean, I just really admire how you've been able to scale this. And so our folks, what is the best way to kind of keep track to follow you? I mean, obviously just visiting the webpage a few times isn't going to cut it if things are coming in and out. How do I get the fastest possible alert from RPI Locator?
So the fastest, based on my personal experience, is through Twitter. It's a push notification. So my script is running in the background. If it finds something, it pushes that message to Twitter. There's no polling, so there's no delay in that sense. I have a couple other scripts that I made available on the website. If you want to have your own like SMS or your own there are several different like apps for notifications out there. I have a few scripts available, but all of those are just polling the information on the website as opposed to that push notification that I sent to Twitter. So turn on the bell. I have a RSS feed that is also pushed automatically. So if you want to follow the RSS feed, that is pretty timely. I just ask you to make a request every minute, so you're not overloading the website. And I have ways, that I block people if they're trying to make a request more than a minute. But every minute, should be fast enough. Like nothing is going out. Like nothing real, like a real product on a page that you can buy, that you're going to be able to buy, is not going out of stock in less than a minute. So the RSS feed, you can filter. You can filter by country. You can filter by device. If you're only looking for a specific store, I only want products from Berry base in Germany. You can filter the RSS feed for that.
That's a very nice feature. That I'm looking at that right now, and it's something I wish I'd found when I did the how-to a few weeks ago using the RSS feed. I didn't know this was here. It's like, that would have saved me a lot of time, but thank you for that.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, I have the RSS feed, and I have some scripts that pretty much like out of the box you can just run. If you already have a Raspberry Pi, you can run your Raspberry Pi.
So how many Raspberry Pis do you have now?
I don't know. I don't have that many.
You've lost count?
No, actually, I don't have that many. Pi 4s. I have one. I have a Pi 1. I have a few CM4s. I have a few zeros, maybe 3 or 4 zeros, like the 1.3, 0 1.3. And I have one 02W. I've started using CM4s maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I've kind of transitioned to that as opposed to using Pi 4. I use one CM4 as my workbench computer that's behind me here, and that's about it, I guess. I don't know how many CM4s I have, probably like 9 or 10.
Fantastic.
It seems there's a few fans in the comments section here today. That's at least 3 people that I've seen who've managed to score a Pi in some way from you. So well done, sir.
Yeah, thanks. I fortunately, it has been more of a community. There are a lot of websites out there that they track these products. They track like graphic cards and Xboxes, and there isn't really a community around it. And I've been fortunate enough that rpilocator kind of became a community. People give me tips. They go on Twitter and they tell me like, "Hey, Micro Center, Illinois, there, a whole bunch of pies there." And I retweet that, and people are able, like a bunch of people send me messages saying like, "Hey, I was able to go to a Micro Center in Illinois and I got a few pies. Thank you so much for that."
Oh, yeah, that raised a question for me. Micro Center is, for those of us in the US anyway, is kind of a great place to get a pie normally in normal times, but it's different depending on which of the 21 stores you're near. Are you able to track that?
I'm not tracking them right now. There are way too many stores. They don't update their stock real time. I've heard accounts from folks that went to the store and they bought a pie and they only saw the stock, be depleted like 15, 20 minutes later. So I added to a tips and tricks page. If you live nearby a micro center, go there, check it out. They probably have some stuff right now. That wasn't the case a couple months ago, but right now they've been getting a pretty good stream of stocks. They're not going to have a 02 if you're looking for that, but Pi 4s, Pi 400s, CM4 sometimes, plenty of Picos, they'll have those. If you have to drive a little bit to get to a micro center, go to the website and do a search. Their search functionality is not great, but see what's available before you drive there. And again, keep in mind that if they only have 3 in stock, they might not be there because they don't update it real time.
Yeah, no question. Like I live about 8 miles from one, and it never says that it has any Raspberry Pi 4s in stock, only Picos. But does that mean that it's possible they have it in stock and it's
it is possible?
Listed?
Correct. It is possible that they have it in stock.
Yeah, hard to say, right?
Hard to say, and that's why I don't track it either. Like, I mean, if you're near a micro center, stop by, check it out. They have tons of other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Micro Center is a fun place to go. No question about it. So, yeah, this is truly important work that Andre is doing here. So, everyone in the community really appreciates it. This is like such an important thing that you're doing.
Even Evan Upton's mentioned rpilocator on the show a while back.
Yeah,
he did. I thought that was pretty cool. First mentioned that he actually said rpilocator was on your guys' show. And
yeah.
That's
Funny
awesome.
thing is, he probably could have. If he wanted to, would he be able to help with rpilocator? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I've gotten messages from folks at Raspberry Pi saying that they use the website to check out prices.
So I guess even the people who make the Raspberry Pi don't know every place that has a Raspberry Pi in stock right now.
Right. So. Yeah. They said like, hey, thanks. We keep track on prices, see if people are skewing too far off, because since they only track authorized retailers, they have to stay relatively close to their recommended retail price. So if they veer off too far, they can adjust that.
True.
So does the bot that you run off of the hosted server as well, or does it run off of? So
yeah, everything right now is running on a hosted server. Yep.
And you haven't had any complaints in the hosted server about using the bot too much or anything like that?
Not really, no.
Oh, good. Yeah, I mean, I worry about that because I've been want to set up some things like this. I'm thinking, oh man, if I hit like a million, like 1,000 pages an hour, that the hosting service will get mad at me or something. But that is just really cool what you're doing. So what are so besides this, obviously now that you've gotten yourself a Raspberry Pi, besides helping people find them, what other type of Pi projects do you do?
I focus a lot on server stuff. That's what I started, like having a Raspberry Pi, like just running different things. A Linux computer. That was not the first time that I had access to a Linux computer, like when I got my Pi 1, but it was the first time that I really started using a Linux-based OS, was when I got my Pi 1 back in the day. Right now, I focus on making custom boards for CM4. I'm working on different boards. I don't know if you guys can see my Prusa printer over here. I think my name is on top of that. But Octopi is a great product, and
no doubt using it right
now. Instead of having to find a Pi 4 or a Pi 3 or a 02 in stock. I've been working on these custom boards. They're pretty minimal. You can see this is like minute. So this is a CM4 on one
Nice.
side, and this is just the carrier board. I'm just going to have the data line, to communicate with the printer, power, and over here on this side, that's going to be the camera jack, so you can keep track of your print through Octopi.
Yeah.
That is cool. The
So-
footprint is tiny for that as well, for that carrier board.
Yeah, so right, the footprint is like you should be able to stick this on your printer or under your printer.
Yeah, that's
you don't have to have anything.
Yeah, that's a
attached.
really key point, right? Because I have been dealing with this myself, and the best I could do is find this thing for my Pi 3 to sort of mount it on the side of a printer, but it doesn't mount very well. So having a smaller footprint, I mean, you only need, right, I guess one or two USB ports
Yep.
and the power.
Right.
I guess
Yeah,
if
you
you're-
would only need one USB to the serial line for your printer, and then the USB-C for power. And the camera, you just have the ribbon cable connected
Yeah.
to the camera. So,
Yeah. So
so
that
that's
is-
one of the boards. Yeah, I've been working on it. Made a mistake, and the camera connector is not working. So I'm reviewing that one, but should have a working board pretty soon here.
So is that the CSI camera connection?
Correct. Yep.
Wow. So is it just like a straight connection through the board? There's no conversion or anything like that? It's just
No conversion.
as on a Pi,
yeah.
pretty much. Just like
Correct. Yeah, just the ribbon
Oh.
cable that you would stick on a Pi. You would stick here in the back of this, and then you would have like the camera. You can have like a Raspberry Pi camera to keep track
Yeah.
of your prints. Yep.
That's very cool.
Firelion. I'm going to need your help, Firelion, because that has been my week, or has been trying to get Clipper running well on my Elegoo Neptune 3 that's behind me with Octopi with the Clipper server running.
Yeah.
For those who aren't familiar, Clipper is an alternative firmware that people can install instead of, let's say, I don't know what Prusa uses by default, but Marlin, I think, is most common on others. They can install instead of Marlin. And then supposedly, if you tune certain features of it, you can make your prints like 3 or 4 times faster. But I think I will be joining the Clipper Discord. So I've been on the Reddit or whatever trying to work out some problems with it, because it is very manual labor intensive. But the point of Clipper is that it uses a Raspberry Pi, and so all of the processing takes place on the Raspberry Pi that would have normally taken place on the printer's own board, therefore allowing it to do better, more precise processing, so you can print faster and tune out frequencies or whatever. But of course, if not a lot of other people have used Clipper on your printer, on one specific printer, you got to try and figure stuff out. So like one person had made a firmware for my printer, but still working out the kinks. So like the first 2 times I printed with Benchy, this is what happened. The top got knocked off. Like it got to this point, and then the nozzle hit it, knocked it off. Oh, actually, the top never printed because it just knocked it over at that point. Then I changed the rotation distance, which is something you change in the settings. So and then I got this, but you can see that the lines aren't a little shifty on the top. Then I changed it another point, and it hasn't gotten that much better. While I'm talking to you, I'm doing another one to see if it gets a little better, changing one setting and seeing how it goes. So, but that's like a great use of Raspberry Pi. Like maybe one of the best uses is with Octopi, because it just brings incredible new functionality to your 3D printer.
Yeah.
So,
I saw recently.
My goal is.
I
was going to say my goal with adding in CM4 is to make it easy, because I see a lot of people are like, hey, I have 10 printers. I can't find 10 Pi 4s. I can't find 10 02s, to run Octopi. But usually you are able to buy 10 CM4s at a time or 5 CM4s at a time. Most stores are putting a cap on buy 4s. They're only letting you buy like one at a time. But CM4 is usually 5 or 10. Some stores still have a one per customer cap, but you are able to buy multiple CM4s at once.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's great. I mean, it's just so key. I wonder if anyone has come up with a way of sort of doing a cluster or something like that so that you could more easily control multiple 3D printers with multiple pies rather than logging into a whole bunch of different octopies.
I haven't seen that. No, yeah. Each pie right now, each octopi requires a serial connection to each one of the printers. Yeah, I haven't seen the full-on server. I think the Prusa might be working on something like that. They have like their back end software, but it's not out yet, and I don't have the details. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Now we've become a show about Clipper, but that's okay. Whenever folks use Clipper, please mail me and let me help me and let me know how it worked for you. Because it's been my challenge. I was just so proud of myself for it not falling over at this point that it's an achievement. I guess you could say that Clipper, for those of you who haven't try it, is like the Linux command prompt of the Linux command prompt of printing, because so far it seems like almost everything has to be done by sending G codes through the terminal rather than just hitting convenient buttons like you normally would. But very, very cool. Anyhow, I want to thank all of you for tuning in this week. Next week we'll be back again with another very special guest. Thank you so much, Andre, for joining us, and thank you, Andre, for everything that you're doing for the community with RPI Locator. It is such a wonderful service you've done for all of us. We will be back here next week at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK time with another special guest and some really exciting stuff. So we look forward to talking to you all then. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you for having me.